Hey everyone, this is Richard. Welcome back. Today we still have my dear friends with us. So we have Jack and Jesse. Say hi, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
So we're talking all things millennial, from lifestyle, business, being a creative, and current events. But today's special topic is going to be a follow-up conversation with the LGBTQ plus series, life after coming out. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
All right, let's get started. I sent you guys a few topics about what we're talking about, but of course I want it to be more organic than anything. So after realizing you were gay and kind of coming out, what did you do afterwards that you were like, okay, I'm gay, I can do this?
I guess expressing myself more femininely, I would have to say first and foremost, because I would
Mm-hmm.
always like try to steer away from it, because I would be like, no, I'm not a female, or I'm not gay. For me, it was just even trying makeup, like even doing makeup for me. That was my first step
Yeah.
because in, you know, growing up, makeup was something that wasn't even used on in my family on girls, like because of how my religion was set up.
Religion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for me, I was like, dang, that's definitely like a no-no, because if the girls can't use it, then I definitely can't use it. So when
Yeah.
I ventured into it, I was like scared initially, but then as I got into it slowly, like at first it was just concealer, then it built
Mm-hmm.
up to foundation, then bronzer, then eyebrows, then it just until it was like a full face. When I
Yeah.
got to,
Until you got here.
yeah.
What about you, Jack? What was your like after coming out? What'd you do?
I
Is
just
there
went
anything?
out all the time. I literally started going out to clubs, and it started off just being like, college night on Thursdays, and then it turned into, oh, I'll go out Thursday, Friday, and then it happened on Saturday and then Sunday. And it was like that for a few years where I would be like, I'll go out Thursday, stay out till 4, sleep in my car for like 2 hours, wake up, drive back home, go to work, and then repeat Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah.
Um, and then there were days where I'll be like staying at clubs, like even after they close to hang out with their own, like with the owners.
Yeah. I love it. I feel like when you're that young, it's all
Yeah.
about partying because that's really what brought me into like
Yeah.
that scene too, right? When you first got into that scene, and Jack, I want to start with you because I feel like we experienced Jesse's like first time in like the gay scene like that together, right? But Jack, what do you think? Like, was it almost like a culture shock or what? Like,
I don't know. So, like when I first started going out, I went to places like Apex, which wasn't like the craziest, busiest place ever.
okay,
But I also went with like so many people and like, and I just felt comfortable because I was with my friends and one of my friends was trans, um, and I just hung out with them, had a good time, and it's nice when you first come out and you start going out and then, people are flirting with you and it's a nice feeling.
when you're young, right? They can like
Yeah.
literally like smell fresh meat. It's so funny.
Exactly. It's like when you first come out, it's just like something happens, like something in the air happens, and everyone knows you just came out.
Yeah. But Jesse, what was your experience like?
I don't want to say it was shocking. It wasn't like a culture shock, but it was kind of like a culture that I had always observed from like afar
Mm-hmm.
and kind of knew about, because I was like that little kid at home that always would just like look up everything and
Oh,
research.
really?
Yeah. So to experience it in person though was very different,
Yeah.
because you view it in your eyes, so it's always going to be a different experience than like watching a TV show and have like completely different outcomes.
How do you guys meet men to date?
I mean, mostly everyone I've met that I've dated, I've met them through dating sites.
Same.
Yeah. It's worked out for you guys, right? Pretty
Yeah,
much
that's
for the
yeah,
most part.
I mean, that's where I met my current boyfriend. I met him on OkCupid.
Dating websites kind of freak me out. Like,
Why?
I feel like you never really know. I mean, you never really know who you're meeting anyway, but like, you never really know who you're meeting. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather just have a genuine
Yeah.
connection from the very beginning. And also, I have this thing where I like guys to be a little bit more assertive. And I feel like when it's kind of like a test of like if they can go up to you in a random street without alcohol or drinks, it kind of shows their courage a little bit more. First, when you first kind of chat with people, where is that step of like, okay, I'm ready to meet you outside of the interweb?
I mean, you have to have conversations with them, obviously. I mean, depends on the person. Some people I've met
No, for you
within,
specifically.
what do you mean?
Like where?
Where,
Oh, it depends on the person who you're about to meet. Is that what you were
yeah,
saying?
like, because when
Okay.
you're talking to someone, you kind of get that feeling, oh, do I want to meet you or do I not? Like, where is this conversation going? Do we have a good conversation? Is it flowing? Are you making me laugh? Are you making me think of answers? Like, it, it it really just depends on the person. Like, some people I've never even met, but some people I've met, within the same week of us starting to talk.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that? Like, I really want to know because I've never kind of, you know me. It just takes a while. Anyway, like, what makes you want to meet them within the same week?
Because I feel like talking to someone over, like, let's say text is very different to talking to
Mm-hmm.
someone in person. Talking to
Mm-hmm.
someone over, even on the phone, is very different than talking to someone in person. I feel like you actually get that true, authentic person when you actually meet them face to face.
Yeah,
Obviously the
I
first
agree.
first times like you meet someone, they might be nervous or something like that. And that's why I usually, like, before in the past, like, I would meet up with people 1 or 2 dates, and that's kind of like, oh, if the first date didn't go so great, okay, maybe we can try again. And then if it really just doesn't go anywhere after that, then it's just like, okay, well, we can just be friends.
I definitely agree. It's always different when you meet someone in person than online. And that's
Yeah.
why I always say, like, it's hard for me to meet people online, and I'd rather meet people in person, or I'd rather go on a date with someone I met in person. What about you, Jesse? You were in a relationship for years.
Yes. So, prior to that, that was actually my first ever relationship. Like, I was never in a relationship in high school or middle school or in like the 2 college years that I was in college. But when I met the person I was in a relationship with, we first like I remember we had like maybe we exchanged like 2 messages and then he gave me his number. And then after like what 4 or 5 months, I was like, hey, I think we should meet. Like we took it really slow, but I also told him that I wanted to take it like super,
Slow.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then it developed into like an almost 5 year relationship.
that's a long time. So, okay. So, speaking of relationships, I definitely think it's important that we talk about gay sex, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
are there any places that you specifically kind of researched, or was it like your first time with gay sex, kind of like out of nowhere, out of the whim type of moment?
This is what I always tell everyone. Google is your best friend. There's so much information that you can search on Google. Um, and for me, you always have to have that communication with that person that you decide that you want to engage in intercourse with, having that open, honest conversation, but also making sure you're safe. Like, are you using condoms? And now that there's PrEP, are you, looking to taking PrEP because that, has a really great effective rate of preventing, HIV and AIDS, and, getting tested, making sure you get tested. You don't want to contract something that you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. So making sure that you're safe, making sure you're, using protection. And if you're not, then making sure that, you are looking into like taking PrEP.
It sounds like you always prepare for when you are about to have sex with someone, right? What are some preparations that you kind of take that are notable for both parties before actually having sex with them, other than like health stuff? Like for me, I agree where Google is extremely important, and I think that preparation is key. Specifically with gay sex, it's all about the preparation, and I wouldn't tell anyone specifically if they're just starting to just do it out on a whim. I don't think that should be a thing. I think because it does require a lot of trust, um, specifically for bottoms. It requires a lot of trust in their partner, because at the end of the day, when that trust is not there, it's never going to open up, and it's going to hurt like a bitch. Like, let's just put it that way. So I do think that there are ways to be able to prep for that, for those who are scared, and for those who are kind of thinking about it, as far as like the cleanliness or the pain specifically. Like, for my advice, if I was talking to someone who thinks they are ready and who wants to really like explore that, specifically if it's a bottom, then I would say find someone, if you truly feel that this person is and actually, I'm going to speak to everyone, because I feel like, is there really tops and bottoms these days? I feel like everyone's kind of a little bit more versed these days, right? Or you should be anyway. But I feel like what bottoms can do specifically, or both people can do, because you never know what happens in bed, but douching is one thing, and I just want to put that out there. And I think it's a simple process, but I think it makes a world of difference to kind of get started. Always, always, always do some sort of lube. Like, that is, for me, like, can't do without it. Like, it's painful, you know what I mean? And also, of course, the condom, and be safe and prep, like you were saying. But also, like, if you're just starting, like, there's resources out there and toys out there that can like help someone be a little bit more experimental, because who else are you going to trust other than yourself? So I feel like start off with something small that you can like play with, and then graduate until you're actually ready. In a relationship, Jesse, I want to ask you, like, what did you do to kind of prepare yourself, and how did you know you were ready to kind of take things a little bit further?
Well, because I felt like I was ready because I felt a gravitational pull towards my significant other. So the fact that I was wanted to kind of told myself that I was ready to, if that makes sense.
And you're of age at that point, right? Because I also don't want to put it out there for 14-year-olds to be like, I think I'm ready.
I was in my I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
I was like 22, I think,
Okay.
when that happened.
I mean, granted, I've been putting this conversations as like adult only, so no for kids. But like, I don't think someone is ready just because they want to. I
Right.
definitely think there's a little bit more to that. And I think it's important to kind of know when you're actually ready. And specifically for gay men, I think you need to take the preparations before you actually get there. But you said that you felt like you had a gravitational pull, and it was kind of like consent on both ends, I'm sure, right?
Of course, yeah.
So that sounded so bad. I didn't mean it like that.
No, no, I knew what you meant.
I
Consensual.
meant that there was a mutual feeling on both ends.
Yes, no, absolutely. Because I have heard people like change their mind in the middle of it, and it can lead into a whole different ending.
I'm sorry, I've changed my mind in the middle of it with someone that I didn't know well. Like, it does happen. And
Yeah.
specifically for me, when it shuts down, it's like, I'm like, oh, I can't. When I shut down emotionally, I can't. Like, when I don't have a connection with that person, there's no way. We spoke a lot on how a bottom should prepare themselves. What do you think are some things that a top can do to kind of like make the process a little bit easier?
Not just shoving it in and ramming it.
Okay.
Great choice of words.
Um, I was
Taking
gonna
it slow.
What were you gonna say, Jesse?
I was gonna say definitely listening to what the receiver's saying and what they're comfortable with. I've been in a situation where someone that I was dating didn't want to use a condom. And so I didn't feel comfortable with it. So we never moved on to like the next base. So when it didn't end well, I literally felt like I didn't even feel sad about it because I was like, well, this guy didn't respect how I wanted to experience that experience.
Yeah, and your boundaries.
So, yeah. So definitely knowing and listening to what a person's boundary is instead of being
I think
selfish.
it definitely goes back to the trust that we were talking about, right? I
Mhm.
definitely think for someone who is giving or who is like that top, I definitely think for them, they need to be able to build that trust first, because it's not about the bottom gaining your trust. It's you, or it is about the bottom gaining your trust. You know what I mean? It's about the receiver gaining that trust of
Mhm.
like, is this going to be safe? Am I okay? And like Jack, you said, keeping it slow at first. Like, I actually really think in a situation like that, the bottom has all the power because they have to be in control. So when you're preparing, it's all about how you're making them feel comfortable to be able to trust you enough to kind of penetrate, right? Um, and I think that with that, you kind of, if it's their first time, like you kind of just have to like sit back and let the bottom do the work. And I definitely think that as a top, it is their responsibility to kind of like see how that bottom is feeling and see what they're comfortable with and what their boundaries are. So learning those boundaries and being able to respect it and give comfort in it, right? So anything you guys want to add in? I know that was like a lot. Who knew I had this knowledge? Jack's probably like his head spinning right now.
Yeah.
Aside,
What? Spit it out, Jackie.
Are you a top? I didn't know this.
No. I mean, here's the thing. I think that everyone should experience everything and you're gonna enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Enjoy the process and enjoy the why is there a top and bottom? I think that goes with sub and doms, and I think that goes with men and women. Like, why? It's about partnership, and you want to like you want to explore the body the way it should be, or like the best way you can, and find pleasures in that because there's a ton of it. Oh my god, I was gonna tell you guys something, you guys. So I was talking to someone on the internet, okay? Some random person that just like messaged me. And it's like quarantine time, so I'm like, okay, let's message back. Why did this guy like he was like talking about food. I don't know what happened. He asked me about something and like it was like dinner time or something. So then he was like, "Oh, I'm packing. You should come pack for me." And I was like, "Excuse me? Like, I don't even like packing myself. Why the hell would I pack your shit?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Yeah, you should just come over and like you can cook for me and da da da." I was like, "That sounds like a houseboy." And he was like, "You don't want to be my houseboy?" And I was like, "But why are you assuming that I would want to be a houseboy? Is it because I'm Asian? Is it because I'm a little bit shorter? Is it because like your stereotype of me is that you think I'm a little bit more submissive? Like, is that what's happening here?" I feel like that's just not for me. Would you guys want to be houseboys? I know
Mm,
Jackie wants to be a housewife. I think that might be the same, Jackie.
No, I want to be a stay-at-home
I get what
dad.
you say. Go ahead.
There's
Go
a
ahead.
difference, okay? I want to be a stay-at-home dad.
Definitely not what you said.
I want to be a
That's not what you
stay-at-home
said.
dad. I want to be a house husband.
Okay, fine, Jackie, just because this is broadcasted. The reason why I was a little bit more offended by that is because I feel like when I first meet people and they kind of like ask, "Oh, what do you do for work?" or what have you, and I immediately say, "Oh, I work in retail." It's kind of like they end up looking down on me for like working in retail, or like they think I don't make money, or I'm looking for a sugar daddy, or I am out there for money and I'm looking for someone to provide for me.
I feel like, especially in the DC area, like one of the first questions whenever you meet someone, even if it's not on a date, it's always like, "Oh, like where do you work?" Like and outside of DC, I have come to realize that people do not
Give a
ask that question.
shit.
Yeah, they don't ask
They
that.
don't care.
A
You
different
know,
story.
I read an article which I don't remember where I read it from. That basically said what you were saying. But Um, so they in the article it was saying that like people in the US, like when you first meet people, the first thing that like like Americans always ask is, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't do that in other countries. And it's just kind of a US thing because like, in the US, it's all about status. It's all
Yeah.
about,
Social
how
class.
much social class, how much money you make, like what your career is because depending on your career people will think you're in the lower in the lower class like so it's like it's a very US thing.
If I was doing some sort of painting or like, you know what I mean? I'm promoting some sort of thing, or I'm like talking about some sort of like hobby for work, then it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, "Oh, you're able to do that for work. What is it that you do?" That's a genuine like interest. But when it's one of the first questions that come out of people's mouths, it's actually like, I think that's kind of the time that they're trying to determine, am I going to respect this person or not? All right, so thanks guys for joining us again for tonight. I do want to throw out there a resource or a website if you are getting into gay sex and want to learn a little bit more about PrEP. Visit the cdc.gov website. There's a section about HIV and AIDS and HIV basics and prevention, to be specific. Is there any other resources that you guys would recommend? HIV.gov, you said, Jesse?
Mm-hmm. HIV.gov.
Yeah, so do your research before you get into something, and I hope you guys have a great night. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.